no numbers, there's no pictures, there's no videos, there's no gameplay. I don't like it.
Yo, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. And today, Dreamers, we are going to be jumping into another lore reading from Palia. This is the most lore we've ever gotten in Palia. Like, going over a specific event in time where, you know, humans were studying Silverwings. And it's not clear if we'll ever see a Silverwing. I don't think I ever saw one in the Temple of Gales, but that's where this lore comes from. It comes from the entire Temple of Gales lore book. I actually did record a video prior to this going over all the lore, so I do know some of the lore, but it might have lost, you know, it's probably gone from my memory, so we're going to reread everything, but I only wanted to make a new video because there was lore I wasn't aware of. There was still more to discover. So this is the complete story of these scientists and the Silverwings. This is going to be a very interesting story. I hope you guys are ready for this one because there's a lot of really good lore here, and whoever wrote this, phenomenal. I really hope this leads somewhere good for lore in the future. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So, yes, there's two of me. Yes, of course. So we're going to go over this real quick like. We're going to start with the first entry, which is Overload, Lead Scientist Log. Now, I don't know if this is all of the Lead Scientist Log. I believe there's only 3 that I found. If there's more, let me know, but I think there's only 3. We're just going to call this the complete story because it's pretty cut and dry. So let's get into it. I suppose I should start at the beginning for this log. It has been a prosperous first week, and I am working alongside some truly venerable scientific prowess. We've been sent here to research the properties of aeroflow. When the generator first came online, it ripped the refinement facility right out of the ground. We're still able to convert flow into aeroflow, but is it safe? Running the generator has proven dangerous. Entire chunks of land ripped from the ground and thrown into its orbit. If it were to overload, I cannot imagine the potential consequences. Is it generating its own gravitational pull, negating gravity? Its secrets are fascinating. Fortunately, we have plenty of time to discover them. So, it seems like... So, they were sent to research the properties of aeroflow, which is like... It's like flow that is kind of... It's flow that's colliding with, I guess, wind, or with the sky, or with clouds. It's flow mixed with wind, basically. That's all it is. And it's just supercharged wind, and apparently it's just ripping their facilities out of the ground, which is crazy. So, like, I'm assuming there was probably... I'm going to assume that they were on the ground for this whole operation, and in trying to, you know, research all this stuff, they get pulled up to the sky, and that's how the Temple of the Gales was actually formed. And by the way, this is my favorite temple out of every temple in Palia so far. It's phenomenal. It's so good. So yeah, this is interesting that they were taking some risks for doing this whole operation. Let's get into the next one. So we're gonna the logs, I've kind of split them up because there is 3 of them, but there are more of the Silverwing logs than there are the research logs. So let's get into it here. So Silverwing sizes. Silverwing study 125. The Silverwings continue to be one of the most fascinating creatures we've discovered. After months of study, it's become clear that Silverwings may never stop growing. Even the adult specimens, several are getting to the size that I almost want to try riding them. They really are delightful creatures to watch. I spent my short lunch break watching them dive through the cirrostratus around the facility and catch cloud minnows. I wonder whether I could catch some myself with a fishing rod. It'd certainly be better than the lunch I packed at home. So what's interesting here is it's not clear when the scientists started discovering or started researching the Silverwings, because they weren't there to do that. They were there to research aeroflow. So the Silverwings were like happenstance. Like it was a coincidence that they were even there. Pure coincidence. Like they weren't there to study the Silverwings. They were there to study the aeroflow, the like random pocket. Like if you don't know what aeroflow is, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty obvious. in the whole Temple of the Gales, there's these random like pockets of wind that you can like that'll like boost you up or send you forward. That's what aeroflow is. That's it. That's what aeroflow is. And it's how it's keeping those those islands up. Literally that. So that's what aeroflow is. But it's interesting that they're probably, I don't know if they're still caring about aeroflow in this case, because it seems like they've moved on to Silverwings, because maybe that's part of aeroflow and that's how it works. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of research on the Silverwings, and I kind of want to go over that too towards the end, but let's keep going. Silverwing habitats, Silverwing Study 380. More and more Silverwings have flocked to the facility every day. They've begun forming a massive nest about the aeroflow facility. What could be drawing them? Theory 1, they prefer high altitudes. I've never seen them from the ground. Theory 2, they prefer being close to aeroflow. I've witnessed flow bugs gathering near their nest, accelerating the growth of their eggs. Theory 3, they prefer the proximity to the cirrostratus clouds in the facility, which house numerous cloud meadows. Needless to say, we've hooked up sensors to the nest in hopes of finding an answer soon. I don't like that humans are studying, like, this isn't a zoo, right? Like, I don't like that they're studying Silverwings like that, because that's not what they were sent to do. They were sent to research aeroflow. Like, I think they're endangering the species by doing this. That's why, like, you know, I'm a pacifist in Palia. I don't hunt anything at all. Strictly, I'm a carrot man. But, yeah, I think it's wrong to be doing this, because this is probably why Silverwings aren't around anymore. You can blame the humans for it, and we're going to get into that soon. But what's interesting is the fact that we found a ton of eggs in Palia, and we put them all in the nest. Now, there is a Silverwing we're going to talk about here in a second, but the fact of that we found a ton of eggs and they could hatch soon. My guess is that Night Sky Temple is somewhat connected to the eggs, and we're going to see Silverwings come back. I think that's going to play a huge part in the main story, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this is crazy, but let's keep going here. Silverwing vocalization, Silverwing Study 399. It's been nearly 15 days since we've heard any word from the ground. 12 since the lead scientist finally told us we were cut off from the ground. Even the Silverwings seem perturbed. They ceased vocalization with each other for the last 10 days. It was a relief this morning to wake to their chatter. I wonder whether the people on the ground can hear us. Silverwing vocalizations are loud. We've had reports from the valley below that they echo like thunder. Are the people down there really gone? So, because they keep studying the Silverwings, it seems like there were 15 days we were ended from the grounds, 12 since the lead finally told us we were cut off from the ground. So it seems like the person who's writing this, I don't think it's the lead scientist, but I also think it could be. I think the people who, there's probably a lead scientist writing his own logs, like those 3 that we're going to talk about. But then also, this is probably coming from someone else that's with the lead scientist. This could be I don't know if it's probably not the foreman, but it's not really clear. But yeah, so they're thinking the people on the ground are gone. Like, there's no clue. There's no explanation for what happened. It's probably like flow took them away or something like that. If you go back to there's some logbooks that kind of talk about what happened, but it's probably the same way we came back, is they got sucked up by flow and they're gone. So it's interesting. Let's keep going. Silverwing eggs, Silverwing Study 411. A new crop of Silverwing eggs in the nest today, all light blue. It's peculiar because usually they come in different colors based on different types of flow. Red for pyroflow, yellow for aeroflow, green for terraflow, and deep blue for hydroflow. Is something amiss with flow? The coloring of these eggs almost suggests an absence of it. Of a more pressing concern, I heard one of the interns discussing eating the eggs this morning. They were immediately rebuked by their seniors. We have plenty of food. Between farming and catching cloud minnows, we should be set. I worry, though. It is beginning to seem like we may truly be stuck here for the long haul. It's already been 2 months. So, for 2 months, they have been researching I don't know if they've been researching aeroflow. I don't know. But it seems like for 2 months, they've been researching the Silverwings every day. Now, I don't know. You'd have to do the math on that because they've studied the Silverwings so far 411 times. That would mean they'd have to do multiple studies a day or a study every day just to equal to 2 months. Because 2 months, that's 60 days. If you got to count the extra day at the end of the month if there is one, but that's definitely, they definitely did multiple studies per day, probably like 5, I would guess, but it's hard telling. What's interesting about this one though is that we know that there's different types of flow. So there's aeroflow, pyroflow, terraflow, and hydroflow. So we know what aeroflow is. Aeroflow is that wind that carries us all around. We don't know what pyroflow is, as far as I know. I haven't seen that in the works at all. Terraflow, haven't, that I haven't seen yet. Hydroflow, I think we have seen because it works similar to aeroflow. So if you go to Bahari Bay, which is probably where you're going to see it the most, it's the geysers. So the geysers shoot up that water. That's hydroflow. That's my guess. I don't exactly know if that's hydroflow or not. It's not clear. I just think that's an example of it. So yeah, but it's not really clear if that's the case. But if you actually go to the water temple, I forgot what it's called, like temple of something, but if you go to that temple, there is actually a geyser in there. So I think that is hydroflow. Pyroflow and terraflow, I don't know why we haven't seen those. Maybe they don't play a role yet, but we'll see. But an interesting little detail in here is that, the Silverwing eggs that we collected for the nest, they're all a different color. Like, it seems like they're not going to hatch, which could be a problem. Because, yeah, the guy asked right here, is something amiss with flow? The coloring of these eggs almost suggests an absence of it. So those eggs don't have they don't have pyroflow, they don't have aeroflow, terraflow, or hydroflow. So there's a chance those eggs may never hatch. And that could be bad because, I mean, at some point, I think the Silverwing is going to come back. At some point, it has to. Because it would make the most sense, right? This is interesting, man. Let's keep going. Now we're on to the lead scientist log, construction. We've been visited by a foreman from the Pyroflow generator facility. It appears he has been asked to add some sort of sliding puzzle to our facility in his own. He seemed anxious. I believe something is happening on the ground. Our correspondence has generally been ignored, and yet we received this unexpected visitor. I don't appreciate being left in the dark, but I suppose I shouldn't alarm the other scientists. I cannot imagine how they react knowing their families may be in danger. So, this foreman, I think we've met him. If you guys watched my last big lore log video from the Fire Temple, it talks about this guy who basically was covering up everything to do with flow, with everything going wrong in like on planet Earth or whatever. But basically, this dude was covering everything up to do with flow, everything to do with all the dangers that were going on, so no one would question anything. And I don't know if this is the same guy. It's not clear, but I have a feeling we might meet this foreman soon, and we might meet some more human NPCs. If we met, I want to see if a human NPC comes around. I think that would be very interesting. And if it's the foreman, we're probably in trouble. It could be a villain, I think. I don't think it's going to be someone we can trust, But yeah, so this foreman introduces some sort of sliding puzzle, the sliding puzzle that you do at the end of Temple of the Gales. I think it's also similar to, I think there's one, the Temple of the Flame or whatever it's called, but yeah, so this foreman is responsible for a lot, and I think it's the same guy. I could be completely wrong because we need a name, right? There's no name for these characters. At least in the Water Temple, there's names for characters, but there's not a name for this foreman. Like zero names for him. So I would love to see if he's going to be an NPC at some point, but we'll have to find out. It's definitely very, very interesting, though, that this guy could be playing a role in the story again. So let's keep going. Silverwing Strength, Silverwing Study 425. Today, someone suggested trying to train the Silverwings to carry a wagon of us down to the surface. The largest Silverwing at the facility is certainly strong enough to pull off that feat, but I fear what they may discover down there. It has been nearly 200 days since we've been stuck here. I no longer see the lights of civilization beckoning through the clouds. There is only darkness in its place. Our people, they may truly be gone. So this is going to play a role into another log here, another study. But the whole carry a wagon of us down to the surface, that doesn't play well here. Doesn't play out well. But I love how they're considering that because they've been stuck there 200 days. So in months, that's like, and you can tell they've slowed down their study of the Silverwings, probably because there's no point to study them if they're stuck there. So 200 days, that's, I think, it's not 4 months. So, I mean, roughly 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. It's almost 7 months they've been stuck in where the Temple of the Gales is. They've been stuck there for that long. 7 months. Nothing. So it's very interesting that this has happened. That they're literally stuck. They can't go anywhere. So it's crazy. This is a crazy lore entry, man. Let's keep going. Silverwing flocks. Silverwing study 450. Another escape attempt proposed by the interns today. They believe they can take advantage of the Silverwings' tendency to travel by riding on each other's backs while migrating. Little do they realize, our Silverwings have already skipped their usual migration pattern for the year. I suspect it is because they have nowhere else to go. It is admirable the interns still think there is anything to go back to below us. I have given up that hope. This is our world now, until it ends too. So, they kind of knew what was going on, even though the foreman was trying to cover stuff up. Which is interesting. Very interesting that they would try to like cover that whole thing up, but they knew something was wrong. Like there was nothing to go back to. So it's pretty clear that like after the humans disappeared, the Kalima village started to sprout, and all these people were born out of that destruction. After all of them left, like, and then the reemergence. Obviously, this lore has to be brought up again. So I need more lore, man. I need more lore, and this is just so good. But like, yeah, they were trying to figure. So the interns, I'm assuming that's people who wanted to do the wagon idea. They're trying to figure out a way back to the surface, but if they go back, who knows what's going to be there? It's not really clear. But I think the more and more we find out about what happened to the humans, like where'd they go, like we're gonna find out something dark. Like we haven't even gotten to the root of what caused this to happen. Like we know little bits and pieces. We know the foreman or whoever was covering up so much stuff because it was so bad. Like literally trying to hide evidence of any wrongdoings. And then, you know, you got this, which is like Silverwing study, but these guys were left behind. It's crazy. It's crazy. Let's keep going on this. Silverwing feathers. Silverwing study 487. Things are getting tense. The generator faltered for a few minutes today. We were able to bring it back online by adding some of the Silverwing's feathers to the mix. As I mentioned in study 100, study 100 is not actually a log, by the way. But he does bring up a point here. Silverwing feathers are naturally laden with flow. I noticed the ones we had today had a much lower concentration than the ones from that study. Oh, Phoenix, are you still watching over us? Are we truly alone? So, it's interesting to mention study 100, but I never found a log for that. I don't know if that exists. I believe this is all the logs. But it's probably one that never got written because, you know, if he was just talking about the Silverwing feathers, then it's fine. But so it seems like the Silverwings were kind of dying out because he noticed the feathers that he added in had a much lower concentration than the ones from that study. So it seems like they're just dying out, and they either disappeared or they just died. Either or. So yeah, things are getting tense. So they're kind of like in a do or die situation in this whole thing. So let's keep going. The Goldwing. Silverwing study 500. The interns have left. Only I and a few members of the senior staff remain. They took Goldwing, the largest and oldest Silverwing we knew of. I suspect they rigged some sort of cart to it and had the specimen take them to the surface. None of them, including Goldwing, have returned. I have my doubts that the most recent batch of eggs will be able to hatch without their mother. For now, I think our study is over. We will persist as long as we can. So this guy believes that the eggs will hatch regardless. The eggs without the hydroflow or pyroflow colors. Like, he believes they're going to hatch without the mother. Or no, he has his doubts at the most recent. So they might not hatch. That's the whole thing. And this Silverwing, I feel like, is one that's going to come back. I think Goldwing, being the largest and oldest, it could come back, but it also could be dead. There's that possibility. It is hard to tell. But the interns ended up rigging some sort of cart to the Silverwing and had to take him down the surface. Now, it's not clear what happened, but you can kind of gather from the text that they died. They either died with the Goldwing, which these dudes are idiots. This is why humans should not be trusted with wildlife, because they do stupid stuff like that. But yeah, it seemed like they died or they were taken by the flow. So I think like we're probably going to see a human NPC, I really think, because it's twice that this foreman guy has been mentioned. We could see this lead scientist come back. It's not clear. It's not clear what Singularity 6 is planning on doing, but they think the study's over. So this is the last study log, and then we got one more scientist log that I want to go over because it is crucial to the story. So let's keep going. Locked in. Lead scientist log. It happened today. I went to take the flow gate out of the facility for lunch and discovered it had been cut off from the other side. I had my suspicions and something was amiss when the foreman appeared. Were they protecting us from the worst, intentionally sabotaging our facility? The only clues I have are a mysterious sliding mural and instructions not to let anyone lay a finger on it. Breaking the news to the team will be unpleasant. Hopefully our studies can distract us until someone comes to our rescue. And no one ever did. Because the flow gate had been cut off from the other side. This was the foreman's doing. So this foreman is a villain, for sure. I think he's probably someone we're going to see a lot more in the lore. If not, we might see an NPC of him. It's pretty crazy that they were covering up at literally everything. Now, I don't know if anyone wants to go back and read that lore, but I feel like the foreman, while covering up in the previous lore logs, I feel like there was probably a mention of a flow gate, and this is probably that flow gate. So this is kind of a tease to the next part of the story in Temple of the Flames. They were teasing Temple of the Gales, and I'm assuming the next, who knows, the next lore log could be about the team that fell to the ground, but it's not clear. I guess we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I think it's probably the best lore logs that Singularity 6 has written by far. I think it's just really clever. Like, they're tying in two different storylines together, and I think that's super important for the future of the story. So that was the Scientists and Silverwing logbook. Hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you did, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it a ton. Thank you for watching. It means a lot. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.